And welcome to Beamish for the opening of this fantastic building that has been produced by a lot of our in-house team. I'd like to take the opportunity today to thank the Chief Executive of Arts Council in England, Darren Headley, for coming up, and he's going to complete that service for us. But I also want to thank you, the people, for continuing to support Beamish, and Beamish has been an absolutely brilliant facility for the whole of the North East region, whilst I'm very much aware it's in Durham, and the chair of Durham has reminded me to say that, so yeah, and they did give us the planning permission for future projects, so we're delighted with that. Thank you, Jan. Today is really about this building opening up, and you've got to really take your hat off to the crew that's built it, because it's been made to look as if it's been here from the year dot, and I've got to say the crew have done a really fantastic job, and they never ever fail to amaze the staff at Beamish. They're a first class group of people, and they're led by an extremely positive and, have to say, influential director of Beamish, Richard, and Richard's going to come and say a few words to you now, so I will hand it across to Richard Evans, who is the director of Beamish. Thank you.
Thank you. I was wondering what John was going to say then, really, but he's not normally that polite. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here today and to welcome you all to this event. It's great that so many of you were able to come. And it's a bit like being at the tennis. I have to keep moving from side to side to make vague eye contact with you all. So it's a really hopefully an amazing occasion, and we've got such nice weather. I'm just going to say a few words to explain a little bit about the project and how it came about. This is really the last capital development, the last building project in a series of new initiatives that we started back in 2009. And those of you that have known the museum for a while might remember that about that time we were less than half the size that we are now. We had about 290 odd thousand visitors, and we sat down and we wanted to try and work on a number of projects, and we thought that it would be great to have a photographers, because we knew that a lot of people in their sock drawer or their man drawer, whatever it's called, had this sepia toned image of them at Beamish as a child that was sort of hidden away from their spouse and children now. But we used to run a photography shop at Beamish some time ago, and we knew how popular it was. So very early on we thought about introducing one, and the original plan was just around the corner at Ravensworth Terrace, and it was interesting when we put the planning application forward to Durham, because they sent notices to the neighbours of the photography shop, which was of course other exhibits at Beamish, warning them of the fact that there was going to be a photography shop round the corner, which is an amusing letter and one I've kept. But over time we then decided to look at this particular site here, and it's again quite easy to forget what a rather undone, messy corner of Beamish this was. The building next to us, which is now the bakery, was derelict and had been since it was first put up, and what is now a building that looks like it's been here for perhaps more than 100 years was a blank corner site, and we had boxed ourselves slightly into a corner. We like taking real buildings and moving them. We couldn't quite find one that would fit into this particular corner site, and then a member of our staff, Jim Rees, many of you will know, I think he was walking through Durham one day with a mirror and realised that the building at the bottom of the Elvit in Durham fitted just precisely into this corner site, and then the idea of creating a new shop here began. That was sort of quite some time ago now, and I think what I'm most proud of, and I hope you are too, is that this really is a team effort, a result of lots and lots and lots of people working over a long period of time to create what's in front of you now. The design team, it's been designed entirely by our curatorial staff here, led by Jim Rees, and the curatorial assistants and researchers that have looked at the history of chemists and photography shops in the North East and the collections that we've got in store. Many of the collections here were saved really by Frank Atkinson in the 60s and early 70s, and have been lying in wait for the moment that they will one day come out into the open air museum. including all sorts of things from gas engines to elements of the Chemist behind me. So it really was the creativity and passion of that team that has led the design process. And then the build itself. I hope you'll agree the quality of the build is really fantastic, and what's particularly pleasing for me is nearly all of it was done by our own staff and apprentices. The masons who did the brickwork that you see, our joinery team that did all of the timber that you can see both inside and out, and developing that skill base has been a tremendously satisfying thing to see. We used not to have a building team. We now have a group of people with the skills that we need to go forward. So congratulations to them on all of the tremendous work that they've done over several years. And then bringing the place to life. The team that do that have been involved for a number of years. They work at Beamish. Some are volunteers, some are paid staff. But they've been involved in the selection of the objects, the stories that they're going to tell. And for us, it's all about our core purpose as a museum, to use our collections to tell the story of everyday life in the region. And the selection of objects in there are all about enabling us to do that. So scores of people have been involved for a long period of time, so they really feel it's their exhibit, and it's full of collections that have been given to us by local people to tell their story. And that's about it from me. I think the rest of the members of the team, I suppose, are many of you here, probably all of you here, because the cost of this project is about £600,000, something like that. All of the money has come from visitors to the museum. So all of the money that we generate from admissions, from cups of tea, from pies from the bakery, gets ploughed back into this museum. And it wouldn't be, without that support, we cannot survive. So the 670-odd thousand visitors that came last year, every bag of sweets enables us to progress into the future. And as we look forward, just behind those trees over there, you might have heard that we're planning even more crazy things in the near future, where a 1950s town is going to appear. And again, that investment, we'll be putting every penny that we can from the surplus that we make to reinvest back into the museum. But we also couldn't do what we do without some significant partners. The Heritage Lottery Fund, for example, are a major investor in that capital project, which we hope to start at the end of this year and will take us through to 2019, 2020. This project alone will create about 8 or 9 jobs, but the 1950s project will enable us to create about 95 new jobs, which means that we'll employ more than 500 people in the museum, a really significant local employer. But another one of our key investors is the Arts Council. Now, some people might be surprised to hear that the Arts Council is investing in museums, but for a number of years now they've been the development agency for museums, and they've been investing in our research and development. So many of the staff, particularly the young people that have been involved in the development of this project, have been funded by the Arts Council to develop their skills and enable their career progression on leadership programmes in the museum. And that's something that I think is a very distinctive element of this particular project. So I'd like to welcome Darren now, who's going to say a few words. He's armed with a cod bottle in a bit of brand sort of advertising, but it's a pleasure to have you today and to help us open the new exhibit. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here. I am a huge fan of everything that you do here in the northeast of England. I've been doing this job for about a year, and I'm up here very regularly. I was in Sunderland on Saturday night. I'm here in County Durham today. I'm back up in Northumberland next week. So there's so much great art and culture here, so much heritage, so much history, but also you're a very forward-looking part of the country as well, and it's brilliant to have a museum like this. That is a real living museum, and it's an incredibly well-led place as well, and I would pay huge tribute to the whole team, the board, but also having a leader like Richard, and I think he deserves a very special round of applause before we go on. I've had a sneak preview inside, and it's absolutely fantastic. I recommend the drink. You can learn all about how these drinks are bottled. You can also go and have your photograph taken. I'd recommend that. There's a lot of photographers here with rather modern cameras, but there's some really interesting cameras in there as well. And then in the chemists, any ailments that you have, I'm sure they'll be able to sort you out a pill or two. Apparently, laxatives are the order of the day in there, but it's really fascinating. It's a great site. It's a brilliant place to be. And at the Arts Council, we are absolutely passionate about making places like this come alive and investing the money from government money and also money from the National Lottery in places like this to really get centres of excellence and creativity right across the country from the top to the bottom, and this is a very, very strong example of that. So it's a delight to be here. Thank you for having me, and enjoy the rest of your day. And the sunshine's beautiful as well. We're always sunny in the northeast whenever I'm here, so thank you for that.
It's now the humiliating bit where we discover we don't have very sharp scissors, I think. So if I could ask you to endeavour to try and cut this ribbon.
These look lethal.
They are lethal. And we can declare this Chemist and Photographers finally open. Oh, there we go. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoy it. You won't all be able to get in at once, so perhaps I hope you enjoy the exhibit as much as we do, and thank you again for coming along today to help us celebrate this opening. Thank you very much.